we're going to dive into the message for today. But to set that up, I just need to let you know about somebody that I've had in my life previously. And maybe you've had someone like this in your life, and that every year Christmas time would come. And every year Christmas time would come, and this person would have certain things that they would ask for, that they would almost demand that they needed to have for Christmas. And if you didn't get that, it was going to be pretty disappointing for them. You'd think I'm talking about one of my children, but I'm not. And so as a child, I'm growing up and I'm seeing certain adults around me that they behaved this way. And not only would they kind of not be happy with what they got, they developed a reputation. We knew exactly what was going to happen. And even if we got them the exact thing that they said they wanted, or the exact thing that they said they wanted their kids to get, we knew the first thing that would come out of their mouth was, "Do you have a receipt?" I don't know if you've ever had one of those people in your life, but when you go through Christmas and you pick out things that you feel like someone is going to enjoy, that they're going to appreciate, or even if they just straight up tell you and you get them that gift, you feel like they're at least going to act appreciative, right? But this person could not do it. And year after year after year, this person was never satisfied. This person was never content with what they had. They always changed their mind. They always had to have something different. And then not only would they do that and demand the receipt, but then they would take all of us to the mall the next day to return all of the things in front of us. And so, as awkward as that seems, I think a lot of times in life, we live our life with that attitude. Many times in life, we have asked God for certain things. We have asked people for certain things. We have hoped for certain situations to come into our life. And then when they do, they're just not quite good enough. Maybe not just quite worthy of praise. Maybe not quite as significant as we had hoped for. And so if you have your Bible or you want to scan the QR code, you can get there. But we're going to go to Luke chapter 17. Luke chapter 17. And one of the things that we are going to talk about today is, hello, I am grateful. And I think a lot of us, we need to switch our attitudes from attitudes of we are consumers looking for the next best. We are looking for God to just bless us. We are looking for others to just lift us up. But we need to shift our attitude to an attitude of gratitude. And all an attitude of gratitude is just an attitude of being thankful. You are thankful. And so in Luke chapter 17, verse 11 is where we are going to pick up. And it says, "Now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, 'Jesus, Master, have pity on us.' And when he saw them, he said, 'Go, show yourselves to the priests.' And as they went, they were cleansed." Now, isn't this amazing? So they see him from far off. They cry out, and Jesus doesn't come and say, "Come here, spin around in 3 circles, say my name 4 times, look in the mirror, and you're going to be healed." He just says, "No, I want you to go, show yourselves to the priest. You're good." And as they went, as they walked away, listening to what Jesus has commanded them to do, they are healed. And one of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. He was a Samaritan. And if you don't know Samaritans in this time, that was just kind of like another dig at the people to go like, yeah, and the one that came back, he wasn't the super religious, pure guy. He was the kind of outcast guy, and yet he was the one that came back, threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you See, every single one of us should have an attitude of gratitude. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons today of why we should. And the first one is this. The first reason is it's going to be noticed. It will be noticed. Luke chapter 10, verse 17, or 17, Jesus asked, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? He noticed. He noticed which one came back and which one did not. Just like Jesus, I think so many times in our life, the people who bless us, they notice. The people that are helping us along the journey of life, they notice when we are grateful, and they notice when we are not. And you go, well, I just forgot. I get sometimes we forget, but maybe if I say it a different way, maybe it'll hit us a little bit harder, but unexpressed gratitude is ingratitude. You can say you're thankful all you want, but if you don't ever say you're thankful, no one knows. Psalm 100, this is a hymn of thanks, and this is what it says, a very short chapter. Verse 1, it says, shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It's he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name, for the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. Some of you thought that was just a song. The Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. This is like a praise cycle that goes on. So the question is, where are you on this praise cycle? Like, do you have this praise cycle going on in your life where you are just consistently throwing out praise back to God? You're blessed, praise, blessed, praise, blessed, praise. Or do you have maybe this attitude that is ungrateful? You have maybe an attitude of, I deserve this. I belong here. This stuff belongs to me. It's very different than the attitude that we see that Christ wants us. Where are you on the praise cycle? What are some indicators maybe that you're off the praise cycles? I think a lot of times it comes into this desire of you need more, you need more, you need more, and you're always focused on the next thing that you need, so much so that you can't enjoy and be thankful for the one that you just got. We can make this very simple. Many in this room, you have spouses. Some of you don't, but I think you'll understand, you'll relate. But I think it's very easy after year 1, year 2, year 3 of marriage to go, you just kind of expect them to be there and to do their thing and to be the rock that you married and all of this other stuff, and you just kind of have that expectation there. And because now you've set it as an expectation, it's no longer something that you're grateful for. And so you have this spouse that before marriage, you were like, I can't believe that they would even talk to me, let alone like they're going to take my name. They're going to live with me. They're going to have kids with me, man. Like, that's crazy. Like, you couldn't even comprehend it. And now it's to the point where you're just going like, could you try a little harder? Could you do a little bit more for me? Could you help out a little bit more? You don't even think, oh, they went and they did all of these things and I didn't even think of that. Oh, they did all of these things with our kids and I didn't even think about that. It can become very easy not to be grateful for the amazing things that we have in front of us. And Lindsay and we went on our first date October 8th in 2001. So 22 years ago or so. It's been a while. We got married 18 years ago. It can be very easy for me to go, this is this wonderful, God-fearing woman who is creative and lovely and just the hardest worker that I've ever met. It can be very easy for that person to also be the person that I just am not grateful for anymore. And now when she's trying to help, I go, could you stop? Like, would you stop nagging? I know you want it done a certain way, but I don't really care. Like, it could be very easy to take that for granted. And I think we do that a lot of times with the blessings that we receive from God in our life. And so it will be noticed. Your spouse ever noticed when you weren't grateful for them? Maybe on a Valentine's Day or a birthday or an anniversary? Hope not. Somebody better go buy some flowers after this service. It will be noticed. The next thing we'll see in Luke chapter 17, verse 19 is it's eye-opening. It is eye-opening. Did you notice the leper didn't understand that it was his faith that healed him until he went back to Jesus. And Jesus explained to him what happened. See, the other people, they got a one-time handout. They got a one-time freebie. They got a one-time healing, and that was great. And they probably were excited about it, and they could go back and live with everybody again, and they didn't have to live out on the outside of town in the leprosy colony anymore, and so that was great. But what this guy got, because he went back, was so much more. Because he didn't just get a one-time healing. He got an understanding of what truly healed him. And now he looks and goes, it's no longer just that I see Jesus, and if I get next to him one time that he'll heal this one thing. It's, now I understand that it is faith. And this principle of faith in my life, and if I will keep this principle of faith in my life, then what else could I see happen? What other blessings? What other miracles? What other healings could I possibly see? He didn't realize that it was his faith that would heal his soul until his gratitude led him back to Jesus. And I think oftentimes we don't understand the extent of the blessing that we have until we take the time to be grateful. This happens with people too. I think sometimes we don't understand what maybe goes into a gift. We don't necessarily understand what goes into a provision. We don't necessarily understand what goes into somebody taking the time to serve us in some way. We don't really understand it until we're intentional enough to be grateful for what we got. And sometimes it's because they might share back with us of why they thought that gift might be great for us, or maybe what they gave up instead of it. We might hear that, but sometimes it's just being in the presence of those people that we understand how much it truly meant to them. And I think so many times it's the same way, is that we don't truly understand the extent that we've been blessed because we don't take the time to sit in his presence and offer our gratitude to him, our thankfulness to him. So it's eye-opening. And the last thing, and I know we're moving pretty quick, but that's because I'm going to share a couple things with you, and then we're also going to sing at the end. Before I get to the last thing, I want to share a quote, and this is from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And so with all of the things going on in the world, with things going on in Israel and Palestine, and this is kind of a quote that I think is pretty relevant to today. So Dietrich Bonhoeffer was thrown in prison during World War II because of what he was doing to try to save the Jews at the time. And so he understands what all kinds of terrible things are, and he understands what living in pain and suffering is. And yet, one thing that he says is this, and he says this about gratitude, and he wrote this from prison. He says, in ordinary life, we hardly realize that we receive a great deal more than we give, and that it's only with gratitude that life becomes rich. And so if you're somebody in here that you've been going from thing to thing, trying to be rich. I mean, this is Dr. Phillips. This is South Orlando. This is like extremely, extremely blessed area, and we can go out and we can entertain ourselves at some of the finest restaurants. We can entertain ourselves at some of the finest theme parks, with some of the finest resorts. And many of you work in and around it, and so you kind of understand, like, people, their entire lives to spend a week where we live. And many times I don't think we really truly understand how rich we are. And we're looking to become more rich and more rich and more rich. And instead of becoming more rich, we're becoming more ungrateful, more unthankful. And in doing so, what we're really doing is we're becoming poor. Our attitudes are poor. Our excitement for life is poor. Why? Because the last thing, and this is what an attitude of gratitude will do, is it will ground you. It will ground you. In life, what really matters is the soul. And this gratitude, it focuses you back on what you have, and it helps you to be joyful in the moment. Keeps you from always needing more, always feeling like there's something else that you need, somewhere else that you've got to go, someone new you need to be around. It reminds us of what really matters. And I'm sure it wasn't the cool thing to do is to throw yourself at some guy's dirty feet and shout praise. But this guy's gratitude that we just read about after his healing, wow, it's worth it, right? So many times we stay stagnant in our walk with God because we are too worried of what we won't get next, what we might miss out on, all the while He's the only one that can give you what you truly need, soul satisfaction. And there's an old saying, there's a lot of people that will claim that they wrote it, but nobody really knows who said it first, but there's an old saying that if you've forgotten the language of gratitude, that you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. If you have forgotten the language of gratitude, you'll never be on speaking terms with happiness. And this is what I love about Scripture, is going, God creates the universe, understands how the universe works, creates us, knows how we works, then gives us a way to live, and then gives us His presence. And what's amazing is, if we will live the way our Creator has designed us to live with His power, then our life will be better. And what's crazy is, science tells us, oh, that's kind of true. So here's a few things that you need to understand, that if you will look it up, you'll find, you can Google this afternoon, and you'll find these truths, is this: grateful people feel healthier than other people. It's not the other way. It's not healthy people feel grateful. It's grateful people feel healthier than other people. Grateful people are more likely to make friends. That kind of makes sense, because if you actually appreciate the people you're around you, they might want to be with you back. And if you don't, maybe not. Gratitude increases happiness and reduces depression. Not the other way around. Gratefulness. Gratefulness. Grateful people are less likely to seek revenge and to be angry. This is a great one, especially after Time Change Sunday, and if you have kids, you can't figure out if you're waking up too early or too late now, and it's all out of whack. But grateful people sleep better. Grateful people sleep better. This would be great. Some of you are like, oh, I fall asleep every time I pray. Well, maybe because you're giving thanks. Grateful people sleep better. Maybe pray some thanks before bed. Write down some things that you're thankful for before bed, and you'll sleep better. You go, well, I guess that kind of makes sense. If I would be thankful for things before bed instead of binge watching the news, or binge watching other random things that don't impart anything into my life, yeah, it might make sense. Grateful people have a higher self-esteem and are less resentful of others' success. Gratefulness, this is crazy, especially around Veterans Day weekend. Gratefulness fights PTSD and fosters resiliency. And so I just want to teach you, if you're raising kids right now, if you are raising kids right now, one of the most amazing things that you can give them is that you would be an example and you would teach them how to live a life of gratefulness. Do you know why? Because they're going to come across many times in their life where they fail, or others oppose them, or others say things about them, and they're going to feel defeated. And do you know how they're going to overcome that? Is through Jesus Christ, them going, I am grateful for everything I have, and this is what he says about me, I am grateful, and it makes it easy for them to overcome. Teach them how to be grateful. So how's your soul? Are you bitter or are you grateful? Are you at peace or are you at war? Are you living a life of gratitude to others and God or not? And here's what all of it to me comes down to. Is I can live a life of gratitude and contentment when everything I have, every joy that I have, all the peace that I have comes from the Lord. Until then, nothing will satisfy. Until then, I can try to be thankful for a moment, but it won't last. And so if you're someone in here that goes, I want to be grateful, I want to be thankful, the one thing that you should be the most grateful for, that you need to understand more than anything that you can be grateful for, is that when you did not deserve it, that God sent his Son, Christ, to live a perfect life, to die on a cross for you, to raise, defeat death, and to offer forgiveness to you when you didn't deserve it. And to go, if I can receive this kind of grace when I don't deserve it, then everything else is just an added bonus. I don't need anything else. Oh, and by the way, the same God that died for me will also now say that he will come and live within me and empower me to live. I don't know about you, but without Christ, there's a lot of things in my life that I could look at and try to go, oh, I'm disappointed in. Oh, I wish I had more. And maybe not feel like I've made it, but time after time after time, I've had disappointment. I've had things maybe not go a certain way that I wanted to. And every single time, right in the middle of that, I have Christ who gives me peace. And so I want to encourage you as we head into this Thanksgiving and Christmas season, that you would be a person that would have an attitude of gratitude.